I got a story. It happened late last year, just the first snow in our mountains. A friend and I went hiking. We went to a local national park. It was a pretty good time. I had a lot of fun. We saw some wildlife, that kind of stuff. After we left the park though, my friend wanted to go onto another trail, one we had been to before, to eat MREs outside the park. It's a densely wooded area, and the trail follows a small river into a gorge that the locals like to swim in. I was unsure about stopping because it was getting pretty dark, but we were both hungry, and MREs are pretty good, so we went anyways. As a lurker of this website, I made a joke about needing a password just in case one of us was replaced by a skinwalker. Anyways, we got to the trailhead, but it was closed with a sign that said there was a bear and mountain lion sightings, but my friend knew another trailhead just a short ways away. We made it to the river and were eating our tasty filled rations. When it obviously got dark, we were cleaning up and smoking, just about to head back up the trail when we heard something moving. Not really a weird thing to hear in a forest, I know, but this trail was closed. We did not see anyone here, and it sounded much bigger than a small animal. I thought it might have been a black bear attracted by the food. Black bear are fairly small around here, and we were both armed, so we did not worry too much. However, it was not a black bear or a mountain lion. As we were walking away, we kept hearing it follow us, always at a distance and always just out of sight. My friend thought it was somebody messing with us and yelled back at them to get the hell out of here. Then whatever it was, it just roared. I've heard bears, mountain lions, and even actually lions roar in person, and it did not sound like that. This sounded different, bigger, more primal. So, obviously, we ran like pussies back to his truck and drove off. I did not see what it was. I never got a good look at the thing, but I've been to those woods before, and trust me, that was no normal animal. So, this happened to me when I was 24 years old. I was a senior private in the Polish army. I was stationed on the Belarus border at a village in the middle of nowhere, forgotten by God, you could say. The place is at least 30 clicks away from the nearest semi-big town, not even a city. I was living in a decent-sized camp with 9 other dudes in my tent, so there was no privacy whatsoever. I can't disclose how many of us exactly were in the camp, but it's enough to patrol our stretch of the border round the clock, and mostly keep any kind of enemies out of our area. So, I was out on patrol with my battle buddy late at night, in the middle of nowhere, which means no city lights, no light pollution. It means absolutely pitch black. I was just thankful for my MVGs, while my buddy is running a thermal ocular. I start seeing something off in the distance, laying on the concertina wire on our side of the border. I'm thinking to myself it's probably another makeshift ladder that the engineers made to go through the wire. My buddy says that whatever is laying there has got a faint heat signature. We get closer, and we realize it's not a ladder. It's a damn corpse that's been ripped to shreds, way more than it ever had any right to be by the wire, which means it must have been something else. At this point, I've seen some dumbasses die of dehydration, freezing to death, and once, I had seen a guy that was mauled and partially eaten by a boar. But I have never, ever seen something like this, just from the wire. We're talking missing limbs, part of the face, organs hanging out, deep visible slashes across what's left of the torso, guts completely entangled in the wire. And the worst part is that it was a kid. So unless they kept getting back up to their feet and jumping on it and doing it themselves, it can't have been the wire. Normally, when we're doing this kind of thing, you're kind of trained to just block it out, to not feel anything. But this was just a kid that probably got dragged here by his parents, thinking they could skip a border and go to Germany or France. But instead, he ended up displayed on 3 rows high concertina wire, like some messed up piece of art. I damn near puked in my ski mask, but managed to keep it down. My buddy's voice pulled me out of my trance. Jesus fucking Christ and all the saints. How did this even happen, Anon? I don't know. I don't even know how the hell he could have gotten up there. That wire is like twice his height. Maybe he fell down one of those ladders and got mangled on the way down. And got his leg, arm, and half of his face, and some of his torso ripped off by the wire. I don't think so. We should call this in. Yeah, no shit. Do it. Suddenly, I picked up some light, maybe 300 meters away in the forest. It was hard to tell, cause my MVGs were making my depth perception all messed up. What is it? My buddy asked me. I got light, my 12, maybe 300 meters. Check it with the thermals, tell me what you see. 2 signatures off in the distance. One is small, one is very hot and not moving very much, maybe a fire. The other one is human-shaped, moving slowly around it, but it's hard to tell exactly at this distance. I decide to call it in and ask for orders. Whiskey Tango Actual, come in. This is November Juliet Alpha, over. November Juliet Alpha, this is Whiskey Tango Actual. We are receiving you, over. Actual, we have a civilian body at the 58th kilometer, in what looks like a person with a campfire some 300 meters into the forest, over. Say again, Alpha? You have a body and a person with a campfire just 300 meters away from it. That's a firm, Actual. Copy that, Alpha. Are you sure the civilian is dead, over? Positive, Actual, over. Copy. We are sending you some backup. ETA is 15 minutes. In the meantime, I want you to detain that person with the campfire and secure the scene. How copy, Alpha? Solid copy, Actual. Moving to detain. Alpha over and out. Actual over and out. Shouldn't we wait for backup? My buddy asked me. For what? It's just one guy. Besides, we don't want him running off once he sees car lights. What if he's the one who did this? He said this while pointing to the boy's body, and I was suddenly once again aware of it as much as I didn't want to be. Stop being such a pussy, dude. What's he gonna do against the two of us in 60 rounds of 5.56? I ain't no pussy, I'm just thinking ahead. Well, stop it. Let's just go detain him. Alright, lead the way. I started moving slowly through the underbrush in the direction of the fire that was noticeably larger even from this distance. The whole time, I was thinking, why would some enemies of ours make a fire this close to the border and our routes? Surely he would know that it would be picked up and he would be spotted and rumbled. And why wasn't he booking it further west? Did he know that this body was here? Did he try to cross with the boy? Why does my corporal hate me? And actually, come to think of it, what's that smell? Wait, the smell. It was a noticeable stench of something cooking, but it wasn't pleasant like your mom's goulash. It was pungent and sharp, like someone overcooking bone broth. The realization came over me, and I stopped dead in my tracks, maybe 100 meters away from the fire. I held up my fist to let my buddy know to stop, and I went down on one knee slowly. I flipped up my MVGs, raised up my barrel, and looked through the magnified holographic rifle. And then I saw what I could not see through the MVGs due to the light reflecting from the fire. There was a big-ass fucking cauldron sitting on the fire. A goddamn cauldron. To say I was horrified is an understatement to say the least. Who was this guy? An enemy? A Russian? A man? I don't know. Could it have been a cannibal in the middle of nowhere with the taste for our enemy? I mean, I guess so. I swiped my barrel towards the figure standing next to the fire and got a first good look at it. In front of me, instead of an Arab man, it was a white old lady with a nose that was massive and it had spots all over it. She was wearing a traditional Slavic dress with red patterns on it and a scarf with a floral pattern on her head tied underneath her chin. If it wasn't for the fact that she had a comically giant nose and glowing red eyes, I would think that she was a stereotypical Slavic babushka. Wait, she has red eyes, and she is looking straight at me. Oh shit. I shouted louder than I meant, but it's not like stealth really mattered anymore. My buddy just started yelling, asking what the hell that was. I started yelling towards the woman, using standard protocol. Polish border guard, show me your hands. I yelled that out in Polish at first, but she did not react. She just kept staring daggers at me. So then my buddy yelled it in English, but again, no reaction. So I yelled out hands up in Russian, just in case that worked. At this, the old lady cocked her head to the side and started slowly raising her hands up. I started moving slowly forward with my rifle raised up, but not pointing at her. My buddy was following behind me. When we got about 50 meters away from her, I heard 2 trees, one on my left and one on my right. They started creaking and the small branches on them started falling. Looking up, I could not believe my eyes when I saw a house standing on what I thought were trees, but it turned out to be 2 giant chicken legs. Suddenly, the house started moving towards the woman, and when I looked back at her, she was inside the cauldron, holding a broom, when suddenly, the cauldron started flying. We both just yelled out, "What the hell?" I didn't say anything. I'd seen enough, and I just started letting off doubles at this witch or whatever it was. My buddy followed suit, and one of us had to have hit her, cause she let out this inhuman shriek of pain, followed by a roar that sounded like a mix between 2 cats fucking and someone running a fork down a chalkboard. The witch, the cauldron, and the broom all flew into the house and then proceeded to sprint away at speeds that something that big should not be able to move across the trees. My buddy was just like, was that a fucking... And I confirmed. I was like, yeah, that's how they describe Baba Yaga. How? I mean, where in the hell? Don't even ask me, cause I do not know. Baba Yaga is a witch from Slavic folktales that lives in a house on chicken legs. She is mostly portrayed as an evil old woman that abducts and eats children. She flies around in a cauldron using her broom to steer it. She is known in every Slavic culture, and she kind of varies depending on which one of them, but that is the premise. We started hearing engines on the road and decided to go back there because screw that. On the way back, I laid out what we were going to say to the leadership. This was going to be all kinds of messed up. So I am not sure how long this will be, and I don't care if you find it boring or stupid. I'm just gonna post cause I really want some answers. I have not had much chance to think about it until recently, and I want to try and remember everything that happened, so here goes. This started for me last summer. I started seeing shadow people pretty regularly. I only saw them in one specific place. It was this warehouse district part of town. This coincided with a series of dreams that I had between May and August. The dreams were not related to the shadow people, but the 2 things coincided with each other. I stopped seeing the shadow people as soon as I stopped having the dreams. Around this time, I kept hearing a weird noise in my house, like a whistle. Not like a human whistle, it sounded like it was done with an instrument. It would always come from different parts of the house, and I thought it was squeaky pipes or something. I wanted to get the pipes checked out because of this, but I was going through a lot of stuff at the time, and I just never got around to it. The whistling also stopped around the same time that the dream stopped. This next thing will sound utterly stupid, but during the summer, I could not keep any of my doors closed. I had trouble closing them, and the doors that I had closed would be open later. I'm gonna go into detail on all of this stuff, by the way. Again, this is more for my own sake. I will start with the dreams, because this was probably the worst part. May of last year, I have a dream. There's a spider stalking people in my neighborhood, attacking and turning them into NPCs. This thing did not even look like a spider, more like a person with long legs, but I called it a spider in my dreams. I am the only one who noticed it. Nobody believed me whenever I brought it up. I woke up from this dream in a cold sweat, literally shaking in sweat-soaked blankets. After this, I keep dreaming about spiders and spider webs. This happened all summer long, getting progressively worse, more frequent, more intense, etc. As the dreams got worse, I started to develop anger problems. I know that a lack of sleep can do this. I think the dreams were really disrupting my sleep. But I became irrationally angry. For example, I have an acoustic guitar. My dad got it from me for my 16th birthday. It was my first ever guitar. I grew up pretty poor, so this meant a lot to me. Last summer, I got so mad that I smashed my beloved guitar against a wall. The reason? I could not get my fitted sheet off of my bed to do the laundry. So I exploded. I picked up my guitar and shattered the body. Goodbye, guitar. The whole thing felt like an out-of-body experience, like I was watching myself getting angry, thinking, what the hell are you even mad about? But I couldn't control it. It was like I had no control over the situation. Whatever I thought, whatever I felt, I could not get it to stop. I was flipping out like this a lot too. After this happened, maybe 2 days later, I was in my kitchen. The door there leads to my back patio, and I heard someone out there talking. It sounded like two voices. I got pissed at this and I walked outside, but there was nobody there. I stood there for a second, wondering where the voices came from. The neighborhood was totally quiet. While I was out there, the porch light, which was on, got dim, slowly. Like something gradually fell over the bulb and was obscuring the light. I assumed that some dust or some other junk had landed on the bulb. I looked at it, but it looked normal. I pulled the bulb off and I inspected it. It looked clean, so I replaced it. Then the shadow was just gone. Later, I would start seeing shadow people pretty regularly, not at my house though. Eventually, I found that the only thing that helped my anger was going for long walks. Luckily, there is a nature trail, which is actually a biking trail, but it's all lined with trees and bushes, that goes from my house to this coffee shop that's about half an hour away. I got in the habit of waking up early and walking to the coffee shop. Part of the trail cuts through this portion of the warehouse district, most of which has been bought up by developers, but hasn't been turned into anything yet, so it's always the most isolated part of the walk. Even during the day, there was never anybody in that area. I walked through it every day, just before sunrise. I started seeing movement in my peripheral vision, but since it was always still dark at the time, I always just assumed it was my imagination. But because I was seeing them so often, I eventually figured I was seeing strays. I started trying to spot them as they darted from tree to tree. It became pretty apparent to me that whatever I was seeing was not really there. If I turned my head to look, the strays would disappear. I learned that if I just glanced out of the corner of my eyes without turning my head, I could make them out much more clearly. They were not strays. They looked triangular in shape, with triangular arms and legs, like a starfish, except they were black. I don't know why, but I got the impression that whatever they were playing with me. Since they did not seem harmful, I just sort of started ignoring them. I know that sounds weird, but I was going through a lot of personal things at the time. I won't go into that here. All of the stuff I am mentioning now, I honestly did not have the time or mental capacity to deal with at the time. This kind of changed once two of the starfish things actually passed by in front of me. I realized, holy shit, I am seriously going schizo. Like usual, I was walking to the coffee shop. It was like 6:30 in the morning, almost sunrise. I passed through the warehouse district, ignoring the starfish like always, deep in thought about some major shit that I was dealing with at the time. But then the movement in my peripheral vision got really erratic, and I got chills. Then two of the starfish darted across the trail right in front of me. It was still kinda dark, but there was enough light that I could see that they were translucent. At first, like always, I had the sense that the things were just kinda playing with me, but then I thought, nah, maybe I'm just going nuts. I did not actually think I was seeing spirits. I just assumed it was all the stress taking a toll on me. But that wasn't really any comfort because I was still seeing the things, lol. I started thinking about my irrational anger and realized I probably needed a mini vacation. I took the rest of the day off and just walked around town. I arrived back home early that afternoon and I crashed. I did not wake up until around early evening. Just before I woke up, I had another damn spider dream. Like I said, these were becoming more frequent and more intense. I almost always woke up from these dreams with intense anxiety. In this dream, a spider with a woman's face was making a web. FYI, I have this walkway that leads from my back patio to my front gate. Years ago, I built a little makeshift pergola above the walkway. Spiders build their webs there all the time. Anyway, in my dream, the woman/spider is building its web underneath my pergola. The woman's eyes are not, but her mouth is moving. She is talking while the spider body weaves the web. The face says a bunch of shit that I cannot remember, and then I wake up, panicking as usual. I decide to get up and make dinner to get my mind off of the dream. Most nights, after dinner, I take out the trash. I keep the bin right near the front gate, where the pergola is, so I have to walk through there to put the trash in the bin. Like I said, spiders always build their webs around there, especially at dusk. I used to walk into them all the time at first, so I got into the habit of checking the pergola before taking out the trash. So I did this, and then I finished dinner. 10 minutes later, I'm taking out the trash. I walk onto the walkway underneath the pergola. Then bam. I walk into the biggest spider web I have ever seen in my life. It's dense too. It feels almost like I walked through a patch of wool. I instantly think, fuck, whatever spider made this web has got to be huge. So I drop the bag and backpedal back onto my patio, slapping at my hair and shoulders, thinking there is a massive spider on top of me. Then I start pulling the webbing off of me. It's absolutely everywhere. My face, my neck, my shoulders, my hair. It's impossible to get it all off, so eventually I just strip, leave my clothes out there, and then go and take a shower. And that's when I start thinking. I had just checked the pergola. There was nothing there. How did that massive spider web get there? I still have absolutely no clue. That's pretty much it, I think, except for the doors not closing. But honestly, there is not much more to that. Every time I tried to close a door, I felt a resistance. If I tried to slam a door, it felt like there was a gust of air holding it open. I know that this can happen when the AC is on, but this always happened, whether it was on or not. One time I got pissed and pushed the door closed really hard. I heard it click into place. Then I heard it click again and watched it open back up in my face. Anyway, at some point the dreams just stopped, and everything else did too. I have not heard that weird whistling since then. I have not seen those starfish things since then either. Everything is back to normal. If anyone has any idea what the hell is going on with me, I would be interested in hearing it. This happened to me when I was around 10 years old. I would spend most of my days outside, messing around with my best friend, who was also 10 at the time. This one night, it's starting to get dark. We are walking home along a tall as hell concrete wall, which has a really run-down rugby stadium on the other side. We clock onto some man in his late 20s walking in the same direction as us, on the opposite side of the pavement. Something is not right about him. We both realize that without saying anything. He is walking faster and more erratically towards us. We start power walking just to keep distance. As soon as he notices that we're doing this guy starts absolutely sprinting towards us. Flight kicks in immediately. We sprint too. This white van pulls up from around the corner and tries to block us from passing by parking horizontally. It was quite a narrow street. I said before that the wall to our left was really high, but there happens to be an instance where it dips just low enough that you can climb over. Fortunately, it appears at just the right time. We help each other over the wall, run down onto the rugby pitch by climbing down the rugby stadium concrete. This guy follows us over the wall, but does not give chase. He just watches and then goes back over the wall. I don't know if he was trying to cut us off again or just left at that point, because we happen to know the area really well and just cut through some forest and a council estate to get back home using an alternate route. We went back to my friend's house and told his dad, who flipped his shit. I did not realize until a few years ago that he was a big name in the drug scene, and we were both kept from going outside without a guardian for a couple of months. We did not realize what was going on at the time, and our parents kept us in the dark. We just thought that some guys wanted to beat us up or something. Then one day, it just clicks. This happened when I was living with my parents in my hometown, on a pretty wealthy suburb of Long Island. It's about to be spring. The weather is nice and warm, but there is still snow on the ground that is gradually melting away. I decide that my summer project will be to learn the trumpet. I go on Craigslist to look for someone selling a trumpet. I find a cute looking one. It's red, white, and blue painted. About $100. Not bad for a trumpet bought on a whim. I talk to the guy selling the thing. It turns out it's a teenager, and he needs his dad's permission for the address. He sends me the address. Let's go. I drive to the address that he sent me. It's the next town over. Again, a nice wealthy American suburb. The address is in this little dead end off the main street, according to my GPS. I turn the corner. It's an absolute 180 in terms of setting. It went from pretty well kept colonial homes to run down looking shacks. There is garbage strewn all over the place, barbed wire on the fencing. There is a literal dead raccoon at the house I'm supposed to be at, just sitting there in the yard. This old woman next door hobbles out to her porch. She glares at me with one bulging eye, like I'm in a fucking horror movie. I can hear dogs barking in the distance, and a cold wind is blowing through the street. Once again, every single stereotype from horror movies. I call the kid. Hey, just wanted to make sure the address is right, and then I tell him the address. That's it, yeah? Hang on, let me get my dad. The dad tells me his kid flipped the numbers by mistake. I laugh nervously as he tells me the real address. It's right across the main road. I walk back to my car, parked at the head of the dead end. The wind and the dogs barking both instantly fade away. I drive over there. This nice suburban house comes into view. A very sweet-looking black kid answers the door. We exchange the cash and the trumpet. I drive back to the wrong address. I am inside my car, but trash on the street is mysteriously gone. So is the dead raccoon. So is the old woman and the barbed wire. The houses still look small and a little disheveled, but not literally bombed out like before. I drive home with my mouth hanging open, with no music on, just trying to process what the hell happened. How could the street change so drastically in the time it took me to drive back over? I never go back. The trumpet plays fine, by the way. It's not cursed or anything. This happened to me back in November of last year. I was working for Lyft, giving people rides. I am not making anywhere near as much money as I want to be. I just had to go balls to the walls and work 12-hour days to make some cashola. I take some amphetamines to keep my ass awake and aware. I maximize my profits and it feels pretty good. Now to relay a story that's tangentially related. Rewind to 1 to 2 years ago. I decided to have staring contests with the sun because why not? The people on this website who are fans of staring at the sun tell me to do it. Now I have a perpetually flickering afterglow of the sun stuck in my retina. Yeah, good job, buddy. Now digress to the former. I am driving around, giving people rides. I have not slept much in a couple of days, but I was rested enough. I start to get a spoopy feeling in the center of my gut. I don't know. My forehead starts having this weird dampening, almost burning sensation that droops over my eyes and kind of makes me drowsy, but not really. What the hell? I decide to ignore it. I start to see buildings and structures that feel like a dream or a nightmare. I decide to still ignore it. The flickering afterglow of sun in my eye has now formed itself somehow into the shape of a checkerboard and is flashing like crazy. I decide to still just ignore it. All of a sudden, I make a sharp turn onto some main street and my entire field of vision flashes really bright, really quickly. It feels like something just shattered in my eye. All of a sudden, I see a bunch of shadowy silhouettes of people that kind of look like a mixture of the figures on bathroom signs and shadow people. They pop up and pepper the landscape in front of me. I slow down for just a minute. I think to myself, what the fuck? I decide to just ignore it and just keep driving on. What the hell did I experience, bros? I have a short one. It happened to me last June. I was driving home late on some old farm roads. There were no other cars, no houses for miles. I see something run into the road. I hit the thing. I hear its skull crack on my front bumper. I feel like shit, thinking maybe I just killed a dog. I turn around.
There is no body there. I start heading back. I see something like this picture, but half the size, with yellow eyes, just on the side of the road. I just get the hell out of there. I still try to convince myself it was a coyote. Also, for the whole way home, which was at least 40 miles, the road was lined with fresh animal corpses and blood the whole entire way.